Okay, let's go ahead and get started. We're on a 6-mile run here, and we're already stopped. But we're actually going to do a little bit longer. I got some extra time today, and we're going to cover a little bit of different gear that you have laying around your house that you can use to make your running easier. And also a little bit of our road trip yesterday and how we broke his leash. This is usually blue, but he broke it yesterday when we were visiting my mom and in Houston. And the Japanese concept of ma, where you give yourself space on purpose to help process things. There's a new twist on it I want to cover. And also, I'm wearing a string backpack and carrying a water dish, a collapsible water dish in my string backpack, and a little bit of fuel and extra water, because we're just going to go a little bit further than normal. We're just starting off. We're on mile 0 right here, and I'll be back once we get kind of settled in. So stay with us. Just a little aside, one of the things that makes a master, so like a master carpenter, for example, is they can take mistakes or problem pieces and turn them into features. And starting off my run with this big uphill, a lot of people would view it as a problem, and I did it first too. But then I learned what it allows me to do is if I walk it, it allows me to build in a little bit of warm-up into the start of my run. And then you just have to come to terms with that. You know, you get in your mind, you know, when you run, you got to run the whole thing, you know, or else it doesn't count or something. But that's all a social construct. So the fact that he wants to stop and sniff, and then the first part of this run is uphill for like a quarter mile, is actually a benefit. Because if I walk it, then it stretches out my calves, kind of gets things moving. And I got the watch to set to auto pause if he wants to stop and sniff stuff. And then also, if I feel like, oh, everything's too tight, I should probably walk this, I could just stop the watch and then start it again when I start walking or start running again. And then just throw it out. A master carpenter will be given or collect a bunch of pieces of wood to make a cabinet or, you know, some kitchen stuff or furniture. And some of the wood will be ugly. And one thing they can do is, well, that'll be the back of the furniture. It's not a problem. You know, it's all perspective. It still serves the same function as structure and things that need to be there, like your warm-up. It's just how you implement it is what makes you a master at stuff. Now we got our little downhill, right? And keep running. A nice run into the sunrise. Like, for example, I've got running gloves, you know, and then over time, this fingertip got caught in things and started to tear through. And then I'm like, oh, well, this is my running glove for operating phones with the touch sensitive fingertip. But anyway, so I was watching this video titled, if you want to look for it, I Thought I Was Wasting Time, I Was Wrong, is the name of the video. And it's by a Japanese lady, and her face is in the thumbnail. That's how you know you're on the right one. I can't remember her name off the top of my head. But she worked really hard in London and I think she's native Japanese, but moved to London, art designer, worked her ass off, and then took time after burnout to go to like Southern Europe, like south of France, maybe Italy, and think about things. And then she came to the realization, I think after 3 months, that she wanted to go to Japan and visit some of her old culture and all that. And turned out to be amazing for her. And what she learned was that space that she created gave her the opportunity to think about things and connect some dots. And I hear a hawk or something. And what occurred to me that was new was, we talk about on this channel a lot, like creating space so you can think and all that. Well, just because it's relaxing and it's nice and allows you to be creative. But the new realization that I had, my little moment of enlightenment that she was talking about, was when you're stuck on a problem, the space that you're working in is filled with that problem. And you know how when you step away from things much later, you'll have a shower thought and be like, oh, the way to fix that is to do this whole other thing, right, that you learned in a different field or different experience in life. And I teach this at work with people that I work with, that stepping away, when you're stuck on a problem, you step away for a little bit and work on something else, and the solution to your problem will come to you while you're working on something else entirely. It's absolutely amazing. So always have like 4 or 5 things that you're working on, and when you get stuck on one, you work on the other, or go eat lunch. I don't know. You don't have to go immediately right into working on something else, but you step away. And then what happens is stepping away creates the space for you to connect dots of new things to come up with a solution. So it's kind of like wiping off a workbench, right? If you're trying to connect 2 cables, first thing you do is clear some space, right? And then you take cable A and figure out how to connect it to cable B. We got a dog coming up here, so we're gonna get off the camera. So this lady's 3 months off to go do nothing, create space in the south of France wasn't actually, well, the intention was to kind of reset, I guess. Only she knows. But it wasn't just because it was nice, and also to reset, which is, I think, where a lot of us end on our thinking about Ma, is that it's just nice. You know, this extra space we got right here, it's just nice, right? It's nice. But that's not the end of the story. It, with this extra space, allows you to get away from the problem that you're in and then start thinking about other things. And then the other things that you think about, because your subconscious is always working, it's the human condition, allows you to connect a solution from another problem to fix the problem that you're on. And an example of the latter there is travel the world, or at least study how people succeed in getting things done around the world. And you'll find that in Mongolia, they have a way to treat this problem that you're having with horses that you never thought of in Western culture, for example, right? But you need to discover or think about these other solutions to connect the dots to fix your current solution. It was like next level purpose of Ma. Really, really cool. So I suggest the video. I guess rewind, because now I can't even remember the name of the video. And as we come back, I'll show you his dish, a collapsible dish, and the way I'm carrying water for him. And a couple other little knickknacks I got carrying with me. All right, bye. Okay, see that lady walking her dog right there? I just talked with her. She's lived here since they built this neighborhood. And she said her son did Ironmans. And then I talked to the guy who owns the blue lights, the fairy lights that we see when we run at night. I don't know if I turned on bouncy cam stabilization or not. So. But this is so cool. Being out at the same time where there's people out walking, and stopping and talking to people and learning more about the neighborhood. And I told her I was from this other neighborhood, and she goes, "Oh, that's a long way." Oh yeah. And she's like, "Are you an ultra runner or a triathlete?" And I was like, "Yeah." She's like, "Oh, okay. All right, come on, let's go." All right, there's a guy running. Barely. Where'd he go? Hold on, we'll see him here in a second. There he is. There he goes. See the guy running? Let me go back to stabilization. Are we stabilizing? I don't know. But anyway, he ran by and he's wearing the running vest. And one upside of using a string backpack. Oh, we're at 3 miles. That's our pine tree, but we're going to keep going and add a little bit of extra distance in. The string backpack solution just allows you to add a massive amount of storage that weighs nothing to be able to use it. So I'm wearing, we're going to start getting into gear. I'm wearing an Under Armour Heat Gear shirt. It's a little bit old, a little bit blown out, so it's not as tight as it used to be. But they make incredible base layers because they're real thin, because they're heat gear. But Under Armour's are really well made. And it prevents chafing and stuff. But I'm wearing it as an overshirt because it's long sleeve. And as I heat up, this is some running gear strategy here. As I heat up, I can take it off and then I'm down to a short sleeve shirt, and I can either tie it around my waist or put it in this bag that I'm wearing. And then the trick though is, how do you get the running backpack, your homemade one, a string backpack, to fit, you know, while you're running? And so you create kind of a waist strap that's a little bit elasticized, which I'll show you in a minute. And then a way to secure the strings across your chest. And then what you do is you make it with clips or little carabiners so you can undo it quickly. And then what's really neat is there's a million types of string backpacks out there. So all different colors, you can neon orange. You just pick them up at job fair stuff, you know, or events. If you want one that's not going to hold in any moisture, you know, you get a mesh one. Some of them have little zipper pockets added on. This one's black, but you could do, you know, neon to be seen at night. I've used them all. Thin strings that'll chafe you a little bit, thicker, softer ropes. And then with the mesh ones, they're pretty interesting. Then you can throw in a couple gallon Ziploc bags. And if you want to keep something dry, then you do put the stuff you want to keep dry in the gallon Ziplocs with the zipper top. And then with the mesh ones, you can see through them, right? So you can see, you can tell somebody, hey, open it up from behind and grab the little Ziploc of fuel bars or whatever you got, or gels, and grab one out for me. I'm like, okay, because they can see where it is. All kinds of, everything's got upsides and downsides here. I'm coming up on a vehicle here. We'll be right back. This is a really good example of the wildlife freeway I was telling you about, based on power lines that cut through the neighborhood. Can't really see it going through there, but over there. And, oh, I got something cool to tell you about when we go by it again. The blue fairy lights area, what the guy told me. So cool, turning mistakes into features. Well, let's go. We're about on mile 4. Yeah. 3.66, but who's counting? Oh, and what I'm doing is we're going uphill now. This neighborhood's half flat and half uphill. One side versus the other. And on purpose, I'm doing the uphill kind of like stair steps. Go up and then a little bit down, up a little bit down, up a little bit down, to make it easier. Because we're out just for a gentle run. And the pool is closed. Here's a training tip. Because of Thanksgiving weekend, Thursday through Sunday, and so I'm not getting my Friday swim, so I end up running and biking more. But then you got to be careful because you can get injured or worn out. So this is a time to keep an eye on the mileage and not go overboard by accident. So if I run instead of swimming, that's an extra 6, 7, 8 miles or more. And on Training Peaks, at the end of your week, I coach. If you ever want coaching, let me know. Very important to have your totals of the different sports at the end of the week. It's an option, which I think should be not an option, just mandatory. And then you can see your totals for the week. And then on the calendar view, like a month view, you can go to the week before, the weeks before, and see, you know, last week I ran 30 miles. And if I do this extra run, well, I'm hitting 40, 45 miles for the week, when I've been, you know, doing 30 miles for months. So this may not be a good idea. It's a real good way to get a knee injury. And biking's a little bit more gentle. Maybe not so much more running and a little bit more biking. All right, come on, bro, let's go. There's our guy. That's the road we were coming up. It's super steep. And instead we stair step that way. But our dude with the running vest, definitely an ultra runner. He's even got the beard and Hoka's. He's cruising. He's got that look in his eye. Yeah. All right, so the story behind this leash is the drive to the other side of Houston, which is a beautiful place, the destination, pine forest and stuff, but it's a long drive. And decided to take him with me because he's such an awesome car dog. He loves riding co-pilot, very well behaved in the car. And then, you know, it takes the attention off of you and your misery being stuck in traffic and stuff. It turned out there wasn't much traffic. And we stopped and had a little picnic, which I got a video of and sent to everybody. And it was just me going to visit my mom. And then she doesn't want dogs in the house. We grew up with dogs, or a dog, cats and stuff, but she's not into it at this moment. But I'm like, I'm much more likely to come visit if you let me bring my dog, because then it makes it more fun for me. You know, if you make things fun, then people are more likely to do it more often and enjoy it, good memories and stuff. So anyway, we get there and I told my mom, don't worry, he's gonna stay outside. And there's a little bit now that she can fall. You know, having him wandering around the house, she could trip over him and fall. So he's a big boy. It's not like he's a cat or something. So I said, we're gonna tie him up. It's like, see that tree right there? A tree like that where I could see him in the backyard, or like one of these. And I tied it with a cable, a bike lock cable up high to a leash like this. It's retractable. And this is a 50-pound leash. His is navy blue. And then he was fine, but there's some barking and, you know, whining and stuff. Then I went to the back door, that's the side of the house, kind of like over there, and heard this jingling and this sound, and I opened up the gate or whatever, and there he is with the leash snapped in half, just the rope dangling from his neck, and he broke it. Pulling on it so hard. So guess who got to sit in the car? Oh, the temperature was wonderful, so it wasn't that bad. But I'm trying to remember, do I turn left here and go down, or do I keep going? I'm gonna have to stop and look at a map. But he got to sit in the car. But also at the very end of the trip, I convinced her to let him come inside. And so she sat down in a chair, and he came up, and she got to pat him and stuff, and it's really good for people to have a little bit of dog therapy. And he's sweet, unless you're a strange man, and then it's on. But it was really nice. But today I get to go to PetSmart or Petco or whatever and find a replacement. But these leashes are awesome because they're thin cable. What broke was the mechanism inside. So they roll up real small and lighter, and they're easy to run with. And then running with it in your hand, the upside is it trains you how to run with things in your hands, which is great for ultra running, carrying a fuel bottle or some gels or a granola bar. Over the years, you learn to modify your running form to carry stuff in your hands, just like our ancestors did. Run with a little gourd or bladder of water so you can run farther. Snacks. We have hands, use them. Opposable thumbs are freaking fantastic. All right, downhill, and then mostly flat the rest of the way home. What mile are we on? 4.44. My number when I played basketball. All right, we'll be back. Yeah, something that's interesting with all this open space. I just love running in this neighborhood. With all this open space, even when you're in the trees and stuff, that whole concept of, thoughts can kind of like come and go, which is really the whole moth thing that we're talking about. And connect dots. So like what I'm going to do today, and all, is like coming and going. I need to work on the last video. I'm halfway done with the 3-part video of us biking through the hill country. So look for that. And then, going to Petco and a bike ride, and what I'm going to do for different meals. It's weird. It like gives you like this space to think. But then back to training stuff. roads that are asphalt are so much better than concrete, because you see like this concrete slab, not the softness versus hardness. You know, once an asphalt street gets a little bit old, it gets pretty firm. And but see how this is like a slab that's exactly, there's no contour to it, it's exactly like an angle. And then this is curved and undulating, and over time it gets these rough spots that are up and down and whatever, and it's domed and not completely flat. So like if this was concrete, it would have a seam in the middle and then exact angles left and right. And if you run like on an exact angle left to right concrete like that for long distances, you get repetitive use injury, and you're not training your body for any variation. But if you run on this stuff, as a car's coming up behind and you kind of drift left and right, and the different textures, and over time they develop kind of a rut where the tires stay. So even though it's on the left side, it does dip right off and on. It's so good for your knees and ankles to run on this. For that is that the surface is always changing angles, kind of like trail running. So all right, we're getting close. What mile are we on? 5.34. Okay, River, what's going on? So we have a collapsible water dish. Yes, we do. It collapses. It's got a little carabiner on top, and I attach it to the top of the string backpack, so it collapses flat. So it's not down low and taking up weird space in a weird shape and banging against my body and causing a blister. And then this is where I have my water. I still got more. Flat like that, so it lays down low in the bag. If you over pressurize it so it's totally full, then it'll press on this nozzle and leak water. So you just take a sip out of it to make it softer, and then it won't do that. And then to elasticize and create some stretch in anything, these silicone bracelets are fantastic for that. And you see these are tied off to create a waist belt right here. And I can adjust them up and down to better fit my body. And then for across the top of the chest, a double-sided carabiner, which I twist as I clip it, and that keeps it in place however high or low that I want it, so it's not strangling me or going down low. And then this is something that you might have laying around as well. This is so cool. So these clips that come on ID badges, so you can go to a nursing, medical profession, doctors, whatever, how's it going? Place, you know, clothing store, and they'll have stuff for ID badges. And you see that little button clip where my pinky is right there? So you clip that around things. And then these alligator style clips are super, super grippy. So you could actually attach it to the rope right here to hold it in place, to do it reverse. Attach it, you know, across your chest. And these things are amazing for all kinds of stuff, because on one end, you know, you can loop it around something and snap it. And these last a really, really long time. You think that they're pretty fragile, but they're not. And yeah, you might have some of these laying around, and I suggest playing around with them. And then instead of spending, you definitely should have, like, if you're really into ultra running, like a good backpack for all that kind of stuff. But just for fun, and have different stuff for different things, you know, and you could play around. And then with the amount of these that you have laying around in your house, if you have 20 of them, you might find one that you really like. It's a really bright color. And then I'm looking to see if there's a squirrel. And yeah, oh, then a gel flask, and then Vaseline in case I get a blister starting somewhere. But yeah, there's all different kinds of these, all different sizes, all different materials. And I've even worn one across my chest as a wind block one time. And then But the other thing is when you start off running and it's cold, or biking and it's cold, it sucks. So if you just carry a string backpack, you can just load as you warm up all this extra gear. Then the beginning of your workout is nice because you're warm, and then you just stow stuff behind you as you get hot, and then it's just wonderful. And you just kind of keep it laying around. I got 2 or 3 versions of this, and it's kind of nice. So, all right, we gotta go. Bye. I'm always joking around that if you're a runner or cyclist, you can find almost anything you need in life just laying on the side of the road. This is a little much. Of course, we should leave this here. Somebody's going to remember that they've lost their shovel. But the other day I was needing a change for an air pump because I was getting a flat tire. And then that same ride, there was like $1.25 worth of quarters and nickels like laying in the road. And then those silicone bracelets, both of those that I was showing you just by coincidence, were ones I found in the road. Yeah, this one right there. And that one right there. Where is it? Where are you? There you are. We're just laying in the road. Always wash your stuff, you know, if you find it. And a couple times I'll find a really cool hat, you know, and I'm like, oh, and then I'll pick it up, and then a minute later I'm like, I don't want somebody's lice, you know, or whatever they got, or bed bugs. But aside from that, it's pretty funny. All right, let's go. Okay, we're at, well, what mile? 7.2. But that right there is about where we got 2 miles on the return trip to go back that way. And the older guy, the grandfather with his granddaughter, are out working on the fairy garden with the blue lights. So I didn't want to stop and record there because they're having fun. There's a water leak and she's out there helping out. I think she's mostly just playing in the dirt. She's a little kid. But anyway, the interesting thing to wrap up the whole making features out of failures or out of flaws is I was telling them that I love those blue fairy lights and I record them at night because they're so cool as the entranceway to the other world or something for fairies and elves and trolls and stuff. And he said that it was his son-in-law's idea to build the garden because that's in a power line right away. If you see these power lines right here, oh, the big one like that, yeah. And they have a water main right there at that spot, and it happens to be these power lines are above ground and the water main's in the ground, so they can coexist. But power line companies will drive over his water pipes and break them. And so his son-in-law's idea was to put a little garden with some rocks and stuff around it right there, light it up all night long so they can see it all night, and that'll stop the utility trucks, if they come out and do repair work or something, from driving over their water junction box, water main connection box. And so you're taking a problem of breaking water lines because of the location and turning it into a really cool feature that other people enjoy, don't even know why. It turns out that's why it's there. And it's real pretty. Isn't that cool? You can turn a problem and take a problem and turn it into art. All right. Let's keep going. I think we're probably gonna end up doing about 9.5. All right, we got just over half a mile left. And turning flaws in the features. That sidewalk right there slopes down and to the left and hurts my right knee. So instead, I'm running this temporary dirt road, which is all kinds of variation in surface and stuff. It's more level. If anything, it slopes a little bit down to the right. And it's good practice for trail running. Even if you live in the city and it's all paved, I found that you can find opportunities to practice trail running without having to go drive forever to go get to trails. Cutting through grass, going over, up and over curves. There's something cut up here. That's pretty good. It's trail running. So much like road running, except you got little things like this. That's a little incline up here. And where you get into trail running problems is tripping. Because you've never practiced lifting your feet up. So we can do a little bit right here too. There's always little things. Oh, it's gonna ruin my run average. Trail running is about finishing. So practicing all the little surface changes and stuff to get your feet up, it's a really big deal. All right, we're gonna cross here and then we'll be home. All right, almost 9.5 miles. Really, really nice. I started to get warm the last 1.5 miles, 2 miles. So I took off that overshirt. And two interesting things about that is on purpose, I wore the short sleeve shirt under the long sleeve shirt. And that way I can take off the long sleeve shirt without having to take off everything and then be shirtless in the cold wind and sweaty and freezing to death. It's a strategy, you know. Wear the heavier thing on the outside, the bigger thing. Instead, some people would be inclined, you know, to wear the long base layer thing under the short sleeve shirt, but the opposite is true. And I timed myself, just counting out loud, stopping, taking off the shirt, well, looping this around the post, taking off the shirt, opening up the string backpack, putting in the string backpack, putting the string backpack back on, unlooping this, and starting running again. It was 45 seconds, which is nothing over a 9.5 mile run. And then very last thing was a guy from me to that maroon car over there was running, and you could hear his feet banging into the ground. And if you're that loud while running, you're not only wasting a lot of energy, because sound is energy coming off like a squeaky chain, but also you're banging your joints. So pay attention to how loud you are when running. And you're gonna rewind and listen to how loud I was. Well, the microphone is like pointed at my feet from like 4 feet away. So anyway, and then I think very, very last thing, there's Chip, he's a basset hound, he goes in there, is I'm probably gonna go for a bike ride, and I'm gonna try out something funky and cool that you'll want to see and for fun, and possibly feed Ezekiel. I'm gonna bring some carrots, see if he's there. All right, been a nice run with everybody. Bye.